Happy Monday, damnation. Y'all, I cannot believe that it has only been 1 week into the Trump administration. 1 week, and I feel like this is January 64th of the year 2100, because that's how much energy, that's how much our heads have been spinning around. That's how much chaos has been caused on purpose by this administration. There is so much to unpack today, so much to get into, from the bird flu to the inspector generals that were fired late Friday night. So, friends, buckle up. It's time for the Danielle Moodie Show. Hello, Damn Nation, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Before we get into the news of the day, I want to start with some good news, dear friends, and I want to start with a hearty, heartfelt thank you to all of you. We have hit 12,000 subscribers on this channel. This is the fastest that it has happened for us here. It took 9 days for us to hit 12,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you all enough. The likes, the subscribing, the sharing, the posting all over social media, you are making my heart so warm. And particularly now, friends, I feel like we need this space, and I want to bring as many like-minded, thoughtful people into this space. So continue liking, subscribing, and sharing, telling your friends and colleagues about this channel. If they are looking for news, right, that is not bought by corporate interests, that is not, billionaire focused, that is going to tell you the truth, the unfiltered truth, and nothing but it, please, please, please send them over to the Danielle Moodie channel. I'm just so excited. So we are onward from here, dear friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, to the news, y'all. Let's just get into it, shall we?
Bird flu. Today in Long Island, New York, a duck farm that has been in operation since 1908 shut down. They had to shut down to start the process of euthanizing their entire flock of 100,000 ducks. Because at that farm in Long Island, New York, they've got a confirmed outbreak of bird flu. And bird flu has now killed more than 130 million birds in the United States, in all 50 states. In 28 states, they're now testing their dairy cows for it as well, because it has jumped from birds to cows, which means one of the risk factors they're now alerting people to for this thing is consumption of or contact with raw milk. As a risk factor now for bird flu. Nearly 70 people in the United States have been infected with bird flu thus far. We've even had deaths of people's pet cats because the cats have drunk raw milk for human consumption. The raw milk was from cows infected with bird flu. It gave the cats bird flu, and then the cats died. Because of all that very bad and now very fast-moving news about this new epidemic, the CDC just sent urgent guidance to American hospitals, advising hospitals that when people appear at the hospital with flu this flu season, people shouldn't just be tested for normal flu. They need to be tested for bird flu as well, because that needs to be handled differently. And anybody who tests positive for bird flu needs to be separated from other patients. Hospital staff need to know about it in order to wear appropriate protective clothing to protect themselves. I say the CDC just sent that urgent advice to American hospitals, but when I say they just sent it, what I mean specifically is They sent that advice last week while President Biden was still president. Because now that President Trump is president, he has ordered that the CDC and all U.S. health agencies should no longer release any information to anyone on anything. Not just to the public, but to scientists and doctors and hospitals. And that includes the CDC's flagship health alert publication for doctors and scientists called MMWR, Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report. This week, CDC was scheduled to publish several MMWR reports, including 3 about this burgeoning bird flu outbreak that is happening and rapidly progressing right now. Those alerts, those MMWRs, are not going out. They were as of last week, and what was going out as of last week was alarming. As of this week, with Trump in charge, no. He has ordered that all information be stopped, including scientific information to advise hospitals on how to deal with this emerging epidemic.
Friends, let me tell you something. I listened to this. I watched it. I went and did some research around it. And I'm like, oh, we're screwed. Because this epidemic, this Trump-Demic, which is what I'm referring to it as, is spreading. It isn't just in birds. This isn't just, friends, about the $8 for a dozen eggs and that continuing to skyrocket. No, this is not just about money. This is about our health. This is about the fact that we no longer are going to receive important critical health information from the CDC, from the WHO, from other entities whose job it is not only to inform other scientists about what happens with our research in the United States, but to inform the public. So as you're going into the grocery store and you're looking at these egg prices and you're saying, oh my God, well, this is insane. Or chickens are no longer on the shelves. You don't know if the milk that you're drinking is okay, because we will not learn about further cross-contamination because the Trump administration just put the kibosh on all communication whatsoever. Folks, as Rachel Maddow reported, 70 people have already been infected across the country. 1 person has already died. They had a pre-existing condition, but again, without information, without communication, you do not, dear friends, have access to how to best keep yourself and your family and your loved ones safe. We're all just going to be moving around with our eyes closed, not knowing what is safe for us and what is not. And to boot, RFK Jr., right? One of the biggest proponents of, raw milk and an anti-vaxxer is almost certainly going to become the head of HHS, where they want to basically do away with the Food and Drug Administration, where they want to do away with mandatory vaccines like polio, which has kept us healthy and safe. Like, folks, it is, as I was watching the opening segment of Rachel Maddow's show, I was saying to myself, what the hell is coming next? Donald Trump has wasted no time in becoming America's first dictator, where we can no longer trust that the federal government is actually there to protect the people. What has separated us from places like, I don't know, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Hungary, Russia, Turkey, is that they don't actually give a shit about their people. They see their people, their citizens, as expendable. That's just the cost of doing business. So who cares if people die from the bird flu? Who cares if farms go belly up after a century of operation because they have to kill their entire stock, which is what is happening on Long Island? But are they being killed in the right way? Are those people wearing protective clothing? Are they going home to their family and friends? I cannot believe that we are here again with Donald Trump being president while there is another epidemic that is happening. The whole point of agencies like the CDC, like the FDA, like the WHO, which he just had the United States walk away from, which means that our money has walked away from there, which means that when there is another global health pandemic, which we're almost certain is going to happen, we may be the last to friggin' know. Because you have to understand that the money is in us being sick. Billionaires create the problems and then sell us the solutions. Donald Trump is creating a problem with misinformation and disinformation. And 9 years ago, it was about crowd size at the inauguration. Now, it's about our health and well-being. And for folks who thought to themselves, oh, you know what? This administration, this second time around isn't going to be, anything more than what it was the first time around. And we survived it the first time, so we'll survive it the second time. They know where all the bodies are buried. They know how government works now. So they are able to move faster with these executive orders and with these threatening tariffs than they did the first time around, because this is not their first rodeo. This is why many of us have been screaming at the top of our lungs just how dangerous Donald Trump would be a second time around, and now we're here. So I am beginning to think that, I continue to say, right, that there are so many different ways for us to resist, right? That everyone's resistance is not going to look the same way. But a part of that resistance is going to be us taking control over our health and well-being. There are folks that have been in the comments and they're saying, oh, well, people just need to go vegan. Well, let me tell you something, my vegan friends. The vegan eggs, the vegetarian eggs, those are all skyrocketing in cost right now, in price right now. So every which way, they are going to try and gouge you. Not to mention, if you watch today's Democracy-ish, which is up now on my page, Wajahat and I talked about the MAGA economy and the fact that Donald Trump's deportations are already costing counties like Bakersfield in California 75% of their workforce. Because guess what? Guess who picks all the produce? Undocumented people. Guess where the unmarked suburban trucks are for ICE and Homeland Security? They're at these farms. So no one is showing up for work. It is apparently citrus season, and our fruits are rotting on the vines. This is the Trump-Demic. And one way or another, it is going to harm us. And that is why I am saying that taking care of your health and well-being, looking for outside information on what is okay to eat, what is not okay to eat, what can you be growing on your own, what can you be handling on your own, even if you are in a small urban space, like start considering what kind of seeds, what can I do? Because I'm telling you, this is just the beginning. This is 1 week in. And we don't know any new information the CDC would have normally told us about what was happening because Donald Trump is president. And in a few weeks, RFK Jr., the man with the worm in his head, is going to be the head of HHS. Folks, I am telling you, headlines like this should be raising alarms around the country on all media platforms. And it's not. This man right now is signing one executive order after one executive order. And I have to remind you, and I said this, executive orders in many ways are glorified press releases. But what they are, in a lot of ways, are signals, alarm bells that go off in the way that we'll talk about in a little bit. All of this bullshit around DEI and banning Black History Month and this, that, and the other thing. These are sending signals to other industries. Watch what you're doing because we're watching you. It took Hitler 53 days to undo Germany's democracy. 53 days to undo democracy. Do we think that there is a Republican inside of the Senate, inside of the House, that isn't just going to go along for the get along? Elon Musk has already threatened those that stand in front of or stand in the way of Donald Trump's agenda with being primaried. So if in fact you decide to vote your conscience, then you can be out of a job. And folks are asking, where did the 53 days come? That is when the first concentration camps went up. The first concentration camps went up in Germany in March. He was duly elected. Hitler was duly elected in January. And by March, the first concentration camps were open. 53 days. And we all know what happened from there. Friends, we're in it. We are in it right now. So just to reiterate, the sudden freeze of information means agencies like the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, are unable to release communications such as scientific reports and health updates. Of particular concern, the pause has no concrete end date, which has left agency employees confused on its scope, according to the Washington Post. So Donald Trump comes in, he says, freeze all communication. They say, okay, so what are we to do with what we are learning? You will say, well, folks should leak the information. Then they'll lose their jobs. And then they'll tighten down even more. So in order to receive information, we're going to have to start outsourcing to other places, because now our government, friends, is entirely weaponized against the people of these United States. And it doesn't have an end date. So you say, Danielle, what are Democrats doing? What, if anything, are Democrats doing? I ask myself this question every day. What are Democrats doing? Well, I don't even know if you would call this good news. It's just news, I guess, that's not as awful. So it's meh news? I don't know. Democrats flipped the script, eyeing debt limit to block Trump's agenda. Republicans have leveraged the debt ceiling for years to block Democrats' agenda. Now liberals see an opening to stymie Trump. So here's the thing. Becky, this is wonderful. Let me put this up. Are there any Democrats? I swear to you, I have no idea. Because outside of AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Elizabeth Warren in the Senate, and Bernie Sanders, like, I don't know where everybody else is. I don't know why they still, a decade into this, have learned nothing. And as a matter of fact, in many ways, are beginning to backtrack on the ways in which they've talked about Donald Trump, because they feel, right, those that are completely, entirely feckless, that maybe we were too harsh on Donald Trump, and that's why we didn't win the election in November. That's what you think that was? It wasn't. Nonetheless, here's where we are. For 30 years, Republicans have used the threat of a national default to make Democrats negotiate over GOP demands. But as America hurdles once again toward a potential debt crisis, Democrats see an opportunity to turn the tables to cut off Trump's agenda and take the debt limit off the table in future legislative battles. So here is my thing, is that I really don't know if Democrats will actually move through with this plan. Because you see, the biggest problem with Democrats is wanting to believe that they are the quote unquote adults in the room. Oh, look at us, America. We always do the right thing. No one cares if you're doing the right thing. People care if you're standing up for them. People care even if you go down, that you go down swinging. And so one would hope that they start to think more strategically with their limitations that they have in terms of their numbers. And they think about, well, what can we do? We don't have the numbers to get these things voted down. So what weapons do we have at our disposal? And if this is one of them, then this is what we move on. But my whole thing is that I don't give a shit what they do. I just want them to do something at this point. Give off some type of signal that they haven't abandoned the American people and just handed us over to the broligarchy. When you see that these representatives are voting with Republicans on immigration, when they're voting with them to demonize immigrants in this country and say and put out redundant policy that says, oh, if you commit a crime and you're an immigrant, then you'll immediately go to jail. That's already the law. So signing on to this Lakeland Act is just opening the door to more discriminatory policies that are going to hurt us in the long run. We're already seeing it unfold. They have put raids on schools. School administrators have blocked doors. But this is not going to end here. And what terrifies me with regard to these raids that they are doing is that there are no more sanctuaries. Hospitals, churches, schools used to be off limits. But you've already heard about what happened in New Jersey with actual citizens being rounded up and detained for hours. With Native American, indigenous populations in areas being picked up and detained for hours. Imagine what is going to happen. Kids are going to be sent off to school in the morning. Parents waiting at the bus stop for their kid to get dropped off and they're not there. And your child is a citizen of these United States, but they look a certain way. And now ICE has been given quotas. And we all know what happens with quotas, right? You see, police departments have quotas too. That's how they end up pulling over a whole lot of Black people a whole lot of people of color who end up being abused, shot by police so that they can make their quotas. The harm is going to escalate and the cruelty is going to escalate. So Democrats need to do something other than really strong finger pointing and really toothless attacks on Republicans that go nowhere. Figure out what your communication strategy is going to be and fucking deliver. Because right now, this, friends, just a snapshot into where we are headed moving forward. Another bit of alarming news. I apologize for this picture of Trump, but I mean the accuracy. So Adam Schiff, Senator Adam Schiff, goes on the Sunday talk shows to talk about what Donald Trump did on Friday night. Now, if you remember, during Trump's first administration, a lot of shit used to happen on Friday nights when you think that people aren't paying attention or like it's going to be a low news cycle because you're heading into the weekend. But he figured lots of people aren't paying attention. You're going into the weekend. So we'll pull a fast one on you. What is that fast one? Well, Donald Trump fired 18 inspectors general on Friday night. And in an interview on NBC News, Meet the Press, the California Democrat blasted Trump for firing 18 of the federal agency watchdogs over the weekend. And you may think to yourself, well, what do these inspector generals actually do? Well, friends, let me show you. So, inspectors general serve in federal agencies as independent figures who audit and investigate their agencies when allegations of waste, fraud, and abuse arrive. Well, friends, the whole point of the Trump administration 2.0 is for fraud and abuse to arise, right? They are setting up the grift of all grifts off of the American people. So of course, you do not want folks whose job it is to see that things are wrong and to then report those things. So you just eliminate that altogether. On Friday, Trump fired folks in the Defense Department, the State Department, Health and Human Services Department, and the Department of Labor. So again, for people that said that this administration, this second time around, was just going to be more of the same, we survived it the first time, we'll survive it the second time. I don't even think the first time around he knew what the fucking inspectors general was or where they were. But over the last 4 years, when Democrats should have been doing everything to ensure that Donald Trump would never get hold of power again, Donald Trump and the folks at the Heritage Foundation who are behind Project 2025, which we are witnessing roll out day by day, researched, they got their teams in place. They put together a 900-page briefing. They put together 20,000 willing and able and ready conservatives to be dropped in to all of these agencies as Trump sycophants who swore an oath to him and not the Constitution of the United States. What were Democrats doing over the last 4 years? Pretending that Trump or a Trump-like figure could never come again? Did they put guardrails in place? Did they do anything that would keep us safe if a Trump-like figure or Trump himself were to rise again? So while Senator Schiff is on the Sunday shows telling us about what happened. And Lindsey Graham, who said, yeah, well, it is illegal, but, it's kind of sort of illegal what Donald Trump did. But, he's cleaning house and we have to expect him to clean house. So Lindsey Graham knows that what Donald Trump just did with these inspectors general is illegal. He's not going to do anything to stop it. Adam Schiff is making sure that the public is aware. I'm all on, like, does it even fucking matter? But again, it does, because we need to keep track. Because the point of this is to normalize this behavior and have us become so numb that we just stop paying attention. And this is where I say that it is going to be incredibly important to take breaks so that we don't have breakdowns, to tap out when we need to, but not to allow ourselves to become entirely numb to what is happening. Because literally, this is just the beginning. The first 100 days, their plan is nonstop pain and nonstop chaos. And so far, they're succeeding. Which brings me here. This is a photo of the Tuskegee Airmen, who Donald Trump and his administration, in their desire to erase every and any accomplishment that Black people, people of color, women, queer people have had in this country, directed the Air Force to stop teaching about the Tuskegee Airmen, who herald about, I don't know, thousands of flights, right? The first Black pilots, who, by the way, this government also experimented on. So just to be clear, America has done a lot of really disgusting, shady things. But as it turns out, after the uprise of many people following the announcement that any information about the Tuskegee Airmen, women in the Air Force, were all going to be removed, evidently, the U.S. Air Force has now made an about face and will continue to teach about its first Black pilots, known as the Tuskegee Airmen, in its basic training, following a review about what to prohibit under President Donald Trump's ban on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government. The U.S. military will also keep materials on women Air Force service pilots. There was indeed incredible backlash that led to this reversal. But we also have to remind ourselves of something extraordinarily important, something that I mention and have mentioned multiple times on this show and others, which is this quote from Toni Morrison. The very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. All of this, friends, is about distraction. Ask yourself, every time that you see an executive order come out, a ding that comes across your phone, another headline about something outrageous and ridiculous that sends your blood pressure up, ask yourself, what else is going on here? What is this really about? What is really happening? Because they are flooding the zone. They are throwing everything at the wall all at once, with the goal of doing nothing else other than exhausting us. Because you have to think about it, folks. And I want to go back to the beginning for a moment. If Americans are sick, if they are woefully undereducated, if they can no longer trust their eyes and their ears, they are easier to manipulate and easier to control. Because if you believe nothing, then they can tell you anything. And that is how we got a second Trump administration. Because I keep thinking to myself, well, what happens when everyone is sick? Oh, well, then they'll sell you some type of cure. But you see, they don't care because we're just cogs in a machine to them. Easily churned out, churn and burn, churn and burn. Who cares? If you're undereducated, then you don't ask questions. You don't think critically. So you can't ask questions about what they're doing because you don't know any better. The goal here is distraction, disorientation, and disconnection. And so our response has got to be taking care of ourselves, building community, and building a resistance that matters to all of us. It can look like getting to know your neighbors. It can look like dinner parties. It can look like figuring out ways to hold on to joy. It can look like it can look so many different ways. But folks, when you find yourself getting caught up on one crazy headline after another, ask yourself, what's really going on here? While I'm looking at the bouncing ball that they've just thrown at me, what am I missing with what's going on behind me? It is going to take every part of our being to stay grounded, to stay sane during this time, but that is the work ahead. Before I get out of here today, dear friends, I want to remind you that tomorrow is Town Hall Tuesday, where at the end of the show, you get to ask me any questions that you would like within reason, and I will do my best to try and answer them. So we do Town Hall Tuesday at the end of our shows on Tuesday for about 15 to 20 minutes. So please do absolutely come with questions in mind. And for those of you who watch the videos later, put questions in the comment section and I will do my best also to answer them. I just want to say again, I am so absolutely grateful to each and every single one of you for getting this channel to 12,000 subscribers. I want to thank you for your generous donations today. Each and every single dollar goes to helping me create the content that you all deserve. Independent media is just that, independent, building from the grassroots up. And so every dollar makes a difference. And I just want to thank you all so much for continuing to believe in me, believe in this show, and more importantly, believe in each other. So continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Share these episodes on your social media platforms as soon as they go up. And let's continue to grow this amazing community together. I thank you all so much. As always, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane. And in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, please do stay safe. I will see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Oh, and Also want to bring your attention to a mini series that I did with our friends over on Mary Trump Media called Changemakers. Go and check out three episodes that I did with incredible LGBTQ plus leaders in conjunction with the LGBTQ task force, highlighting their extraordinary courage and work in the space. So do go over to Mary Trump Media and check out my Change Makers series. All right, folks, I will see you back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. Be well.